Ladies and gentlemen, we all have goals. Some of us want to build a career, some dream of starting a business, and others want to create impact in their communities. But the truth is, very few people actually reach their goals. And it's not because they aren't capable. It's because they don't know how to bridge the gap between wanting something and achieving it. Here's the secret: clarity is power. If you don't know exactly where you're going, how can you ever expect to arrive? Vague goals create vague results, so define it. Not "I want to be successful." No success has to be measurable. Say, "I want to lead a team of 20, grow my revenue by 50%, or complete a marathon in under 4 hours." Precision builds direction. Second, let's be honest, motivation is overrated. You're not going to feel motivated every day, but discipline, that's where results are born. Discipline is showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's the early mornings, the late nights, the uncomfortable conversations that no one else is willing to have. Third, break it down. Big goals are intimidating, but when you divide them into small, daily actions, they become manageable. Every day is a brick, and before you know it, you've built the entire wall. Fourth, success doesn't happen in isolation. Accountability drives results. Find mentors, coaches, or peers who won't let you settle for less. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, because your environment will either push you forward or hold you back. Finally, resilience wins. You will fail, you will fall, but every setback is feedback. Winners are not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who get up every single time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to reach your goal, be clear, stay disciplined, break it down, get accountability, and never stop moving forward. Because the truth is, you already have what it takes. The only question left is, are you willing to do what it takes? We've all been taught to chase motivation. We scroll through videos, listen to podcasts, or read quotes, waiting for that spark that makes us want to jump out of bed and run toward our goals. And yes, motivation feels amazing when it hits. It's like rocket fuel, a sudden burst of energy that makes the impossible look easy. But here's the problem: motivation is temporary. It's a mood, and moods change. One day you're unstoppable, the next you're tired, distracted, and already making excuses. If your success depends on motivation, you will fail, because it won't always be there when you need it. The truth is, what separates people who reach their goals from those who just dream about them is not motivation. It's discipline. Discipline is the ability to keep moving forward regardless of how you feel. It's showing up when your mind tells you to stay in bed. It's choosing the salad when you want the burger, picking up the book when you'd rather scroll social media, sending that follow-up email when you'd prefer to avoid rejection. Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it builds the habits that create the life you want. And once those habits are locked in, they carry you through even on the hardest days. Think about it this way: motivation is like a spark. It burns bright, then fades. Discipline is the firewood. It may take effort to gather it, to stack it, to keep feeding it, but once the fire is burning, it provides steady heat. It doesn't vanish when the weather changes or when your mood shifts. It stays because you built it to stay. One of the biggest myths people believe is that successful individuals are always motivated, that they wake up every morning full of energy and excitement. But if you ask high achievers, they'll tell you the truth. They don't always feel like doing the work either. They get tired, they get frustrated, they get bored. The difference is that they've trained themselves to act independently of their feelings. They've built routines, structures, and accountability systems so strong that skipping is simply not an option. They don't debate with themselves about whether they'll go to the gym or work on their project. It's already decided. The discipline is automatic, and that's the key. You can't leave your goals up to willpower. Willpower runs out. The more decisions you leave open: should I, shouldn't I, do I feel like it, do I not, the more likely you are to give in. Discipline removes the debate. It turns the action into a non-negotiable. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't wake up asking, "Do I feel motivated to brush today?" And no, you just do it. Imagine treating your goals the same way. So how do you build discipline? You start small. Consistency matters more than intensity. Anyone can go hard for a week. Real discipline is built over months and years. If your goal is fitness, commit to moving your body every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. If your goal is building a business, commit to one outreach call or one email daily, no matter what. Over time, those tiny actions accumulate, and more importantly, they rewire your brain. You stop relying on feelings and start relying on identity. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who follows through. Another powerful tool is accountability. Discipline doesn't have to be lonely. When someone else is counting on you, whether it's a coach, a business partner, or even a friend, you are far more likely to show up. Why? Because humans don't like disappointing others. Use that to your advantage. Surround yourself with people who expect you to keep your word, who challenge you when you slack off, and who model the kind of discipline you want for yourself. And here's the truth: discipline is freedom. At first, it feels restrictive. You'll think, why can't I just do what I feel like? But eventually, you realize that discipline frees you from chaos. It frees you from guilt. It frees you from wasted potential. The person who relies on motivation is trapped in a cycle of highs and lows. The person with discipline is steady, reliable, and unstoppable. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for the future you want. It won't always feel rewarding in the moment, but over time, the results will compound. You'll look back months or years from now and realize that while others were waiting for motivation, you were building momentum. And that momentum is the true engine of success. So when you think about your goal, don't ask, how do I stay motivated? Ask instead, how do I build discipline? Because that's the question that changes everything. One of the biggest reasons people don't reach their goals is because they look at the finish line and feel overwhelmed by how far away it seems. The gap between where they are and where they want to be feels like a mountain, and instead of starting the climb, they freeze. They tell themselves they'll begin when they have more time, more resources, or more confidence. But here's the reality: you'll never have more time, and confidence only comes after you take action. The secret to bridging that gap isn't to think about the entire mountain. It's to break it down into steps so small you can't talk yourself out of taking them. When you look at high performers, they don't set a goal and then magically leap to the result. They reverse engineer. They ask, what needs to be true for me to achieve this in a year? And then they break it down into months, weeks, and days. Suddenly, the massive goal doesn't feel so massive. It feels like a series of actions stacked on top of each other. And here's the powerful thing: when you stack small wins, you create momentum, and momentum is unstoppable. Let's take an example. Suppose your goal is to write a book. If you focus only on the end product, an entire manuscript, polished and published, you'll get paralyzed. But if you break it down, it becomes manageable. A book might be 60,000 words, that's intimidating, but 500 words a day, that's 2 pages. Most people can write that in under an hour. If you write 500 words a day for 4 months, you've written a book. It's not about some heroic burst of effort. It's about consistently breaking the big thing into smaller things. The same principle applies in business. Imagine you want to grow your revenue by $1 million in the next year. That number sounds massive when you say it out loud, but break it down. $1 million a year is roughly $83,000 a month. That's about $19,000 a week. If your average deal size is $5,000, that means you need about 4 new deals every week. Suddenly, the question isn't how do I make $1 million, it's how do I close 4 deals this week. That's a problem you can solve. That's a goal you can act on today. Breaking it down also removes excuses. When the task is huge, it's easy to hide behind procrastination. You'll say, I'll start when I'm ready. But when the step in front of you is tiny, you run out of reasons not to act. You can't say you don't have time for 1 phone call, or 5 push-ups, or 15 minutes of reading. And once you do that small thing, it's easier to do the next one. Progress compounds. Another advantage is that breaking goals down builds confidence. Every time you complete a small action, You prove to yourself that you're capable. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself, and small wins give you endless opportunities to do that. Over time, your identity shifts. You're no longer someone who hopes to achieve a goal. You're someone who is actively achieving it step by step. But breaking it down doesn't just mean shrinking the task. It also means prioritizing. Not every action moves the needle. Some people stay busy with tasks that make no difference. The power of breaking it down lies in identifying the right actions. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? If you're building a business, maybe it's making sales calls. If you're improving your health, maybe it's prepping meals instead of grabbing fast food. Discipline plus clarity equals results, but clarity comes from breaking the big picture into actionable steps. And here's the part people forget. The breakdown has to be visible. Don't keep it in your head. Write it down. Create a plan where you can see the daily actions in front of you. Cross them off as you go. That physical act of completion triggers progress in your brain, and progress is addictive. The more progress you see, the more progress you want to create. Most people fail not because their goals are too big, but because their plan is too vague. Get healthy, make more money, be successful. These are dreams, not goals. When you break them down into measurable, bite-sized steps, they become a roadmap. And with a roadmap, the only question is whether you'll keep walking. So the next time your goal feels overwhelming, don't shrink your ambition. Shrink the step. Ask yourself, what can I do in the next 10 minutes to move 1 inch closer? Then do it. Do it again tomorrow. Do it again the next day. And when you look back 6 months from now, you'll be shocked at how far those tiny steps have carried you. Because the truth is, reaching big goals isn't about giant leaps. It's about small steps taken consistently. One of the most powerful forces in reaching your goals isn't willpower, isn't motivation, and isn't even discipline, it's accountability. Accountability is the difference between I'll try and I will. It's the difference between excuses and execution. Because when you know someone else is watching, counting on you, or expecting results, you raise your standards, you move differently, you perform differently. You stop negotiating with yourself and start keeping promises you might otherwise break. Most people overestimate their ability to hold themselves accountable. They say, I don't need anyone, I'll just push myself. But here's the truth, human beings are masters at justifying. We are incredible storytellers when it comes to explaining why we couldn't, shouldn't, or didn't follow through. I was tired. I'll do it tomorrow. It wasn't the right time. Alone, these excuses feel convincing. But when you have to look someone in the eye, your coach, your partner, your team, and admit you didn't do what you said you would, those excuses suddenly don't feel so strong. Accountability kills the easy way out. Think about professional athletes. Do you think they'd train as hard if nobody was watching? Of course not. They have coaches, teammates, and fans expecting peak performance. That expectation creates pressure, and pressure creates performance. The same is true in business, in health, in personal goals. When you attach your commitments to someone outside yourself, you create leverage, and leverage is what moves you when your own strength fails. But accountability isn't just about having someone check in. It's about choosing the right people. The wrong environment will pull you down faster than you realize. If you surround yourself with people who accept mediocrity, who let you off the hook, or who make excuses alongside you, you'll sink to their level. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who challenge you, who refuse to accept your excuses, who remind you of your potential when you forget it, you rise, your standards climb to match theirs. There's a saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look around. Do those 5 people inspire you or drain you? Do they hold you to a higher standard, or do they allow you to settle? If the answer isn't clear, it's time to upgrade your circle. Accountability isn't always comfortable, but it's always necessary. Growth requires being around people who won't let you play small, and accountability isn't limited to people. It can also be systems. Tracking your progress is a form of accountability. When you measure your actions, whether it's workouts, sales calls, hours studied, you create data. Data doesn't lie. It doesn't care about your excuses. If you said you'd work out 5 times a week and the tracker shows 2, that's accountability. If you said you'd make 20 calls and the log shows 8, that's accountability. Numbers don't sugarcoat the truth. And when you see the truth laid bare, you're forced to confront it and correct it. The reason accountability works so powerfully is that it taps into something deeper, our identity and our reputation. Most of us can live with letting ourselves down because we've done it so many times before, but letting others down, that hurts, that feels like a break in trust. And because we value connection, respect, and credibility, we try harder to keep our word when someone else is involved. Accountability externalizes your promises so that breaking them has real consequences. But here's the part people often miss: accountability isn't about punishment, it's about empowerment. When someone holds you accountable, they're saying, I believe you're capable of more, and I won't let you settle for less. It's not about catching you failing, it's about pushing you to succeed. The best accountability partners aren't harsh critics. They're committed allies who see your potential and demand that you rise to meet it. If you want to reach your goal faster, make your commitments public. Tell someone what you're going to do and by when. Better yet, put something at stake. If you don't deliver, it costs you money, credibility, opportunities. Suddenly, the option to quit becomes much less appealing. People perform better under pressure, and accountability is the pressure that turns intention into execution. Every major achievement in history has been backed by accountability. Entrepreneurs had investors. Leaders had boards. Athletes had coaches. Even the most disciplined individuals understood the value of having someone or something outside themselves to ensure consistency. If accountability is missing from your plan, you're making success harder than it has to be. So ask yourself, who's holding you accountable? Who's making sure you do the things you said you'd do long after the excitement has worn off? If the answer is no one, then you're relying on willpower alone, and willpower is weak compared to accountability. The path to your goal becomes clearer when you know someone is waiting at the finish line, checking the scoreboard, or holding you to your word. With accountability, your excuses shrink, your effort grows, and your results multiply. Without it, even the best intentions fade. If you truly want to reach your goals, stop keeping it to yourself. Put it out there, share it, attach it to someone or something bigger than you, because accountability isn't a weakness, it's the ultimate strength. Every goal worth pursuing will test you. The path is never straight, and it is never easy. Somewhere along the way, you will hit walls you didn't see coming. You'll face setbacks that make you question why you even started. You'll be rejected, ignored, criticized, and underestimated. And in those moments, it won't be your talent that saves you. It won't be your intelligence or even your strategy. It will be your resilience, your ability to get back up again and again, no matter how many times you fall. Resilience isn't glamorous. Nobody posts about the nights they cried, the failures they endured, or the doubts that almost consumed them. But resilience is the hidden trait behind every story of success. Because here's the truth: failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Every rejection letter, every missed opportunity, every bad launch, every painful lesson, it all belongs to the process. The people who win are not the ones who avoid failure. They are the ones who refuse to be defined by it. Think about the people you admire most: athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders. They all have scars. They all have chapters of failure that could have ended their story, but didn't. What separates them from the rest is not that they had fewer problems, but that they kept moving forward in spite of them. They treated every setback as data, as feedback, as training for the next step. Resilience turns obstacles into stepping stones. When you set a big goal, you have to expect resistance. Expect the plan not to go perfectly. Expect detours, delays, and disappointments. Too many people quit because they mistake resistance for a stop sign. But resilience knows that resistance is simply part of the climb. If you were meant to give up at the first sign of struggle, then the goal wouldn't be worth pursuing in the first place. Struggle means you're stretching. Struggle means you're in the game. The most dangerous moment is not the failure itself, it's the story you tell yourself about the failure. Resilient people don't say, "This means I'm not good enough." They say, "This means I need to adjust." They don't interpret failure as permanent, they see it as temporary. They don't internalize defeat, they externalize it as part of the process. That mindset shift is what allows them to stand back up while others stay down. And here's the key: resilience is built, not born. You're not magically born tougher than everyone else. Resilience is forged through challenges. It's developed every time you choose to rise instead of retreat. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity to train your resilience muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Over time, what used to break you becomes what builds you. Resilience also requires perspective. Sometimes we get so caught up in the pain of the moment that we forget the bigger picture. A lost deal, a failed exam, a missed opportunity feels like the end of the world, but it's just one page in a much larger story. When you zoom out, you realize that setbacks don't erase your progress. They refine it. They redirect you. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come after the most painful breakdowns, but only for those who choose to keep going long enough to see them. And resilience is contagious. When you display it, the people around you notice. Your team sees that you don't crumble under pressure, and it gives them permission to keep going too. Your family sees that you bounce back, and it inspires them to do the same. Resilience creates leaders because people naturally follow those who refuse to be defeated. There will always be moments when you feel like quitting. That voice in your head will whisper, "It's too hard. It's not worth it. You'll never make it." Resilience is the louder voice that responds, "Keep going. You've come too far to stop now." And when you act on that voice, when you push through the fatigue, the fear, the frustration, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances. Every great success story has a moment where giving up would have been easier, but the heroes of those stories didn't choose easy. They chose resilient. They chose to endure. They chose to rise one more time than they fell. That is why they won. So when you're pursuing your goal, don't pray for the path to be easy. Pray for the strength to be resilient, because easy paths don't lead to extraordinary destinations. And the ones who achieve extraordinary things aren't the ones who never fail. They are the ones who never stop. Most people fail to reach their goals not because they lack talent, not because they don't work hard, but because they lack clarity. They don't actually know what they want. They say things like, "I just want to be successful," or "I want to be happier," or "I want more money." But success, happiness, and money are vague. You can't measure them, you can't track them, and you can't build a plan for them. If your goals are blurry, your results will be blurry. That's why clarity is power. The clearer you are about what you want, the faster and easier it becomes to get there. Clarity starts with specificity. If you want a promotion, don't just say, "I want to move up in my career." Define it. Which position, at what level, by when. If you want to get fit, don't just say, "I want to be healthier." Define it. Do you want to lose 20 pounds, run a half marathon, lift your body weight on a barbell? Specific goals cut through the fog. They give your brain a target to lock onto. When your goal is precise, your daily actions suddenly become obvious. Without clarity, you're just guessing. With clarity, you're executing. Think about how GPS works. If you get into your car and say, "Take me somewhere nice," the GPS has no idea what to do, but if you type in the exact address, the system instantly maps the route. The destination determines the directions. Your life works the same way. Until you define where you're going, you'll wander. Once you get clear, the path appears. Clarity also eliminates distractions. When you don't know exactly what you want, everything looks like an opportunity. You'll say yes to things that don't serve you. You'll chase ideas that waste your time. You'll be busy, but not productive. But when you have a clear goal, the decision making gets easier. You can ask, does this move me closer to my goal or not? If the answer is no, you cut it. That's how clarity creates focus, and focus is what accelerates progress. One of the biggest mistakes people make is setting goals based on what they think they should want instead of what they truly want. They chase someone else's definition of success, the house, the job title, the car, only to arrive and feel empty. Clarity requires honesty. You have to ask yourself, what do I really want? Not what looks good on paper, not what impresses other people, but what lights me up, what excites me enough to push through the hard days. Because if you're chasing the wrong goal, no amount of discipline will make it satisfying. Real clarity comes from aligning your goal with your values and vision, and once you know what you want, write it down. Don't just keep it in your head. A written goal is a committed goal. It's a declaration. It forces you to confront it daily. People who write down their goals are significantly more likely to achieve them because clarity breeds accountability. When you see your goal in front of you, it's harder to ignore it. Clarity doesn't mean the plan will never change. Life happens, obstacles come up. Sometimes the route to your goal will shift, but clarity on the destination keeps you moving forward, even if the path isn't perfect. Imagine driving with your GPS. If there's traffic, it reroutes you. You may take a different road, but you're still heading toward the same address. That's how clarity works. Flexibility on the how, but certainty on the what. And clarity doesn't just help you, it helps others help you. When you communicate your goals clearly, people know how to support you. If you tell your team, we need to grow, that's vague. But if you say, we're increasing revenue by 25% this quarter through 100 new client acquisitions, now your team knows what actions to take. Clear goals inspire alignment. They create teamwork. They allow everyone to row in the same direction. Here's the ultimate truth. Confusion kills momentum. Clarity creates it. When you know exactly what you're aiming for, you wake up with purpose. You stop drifting. You stop wasting energy. You stop second-guessing yourself. Every action has direction. Every choice has meaning. And over time, that focused energy compounds into results that feel almost inevitable. So if you want to reach your goals, stop waiting for motivation. Stop chasing vague dreams and get radically clear. Define exactly what you want, why you want it, and by when you'll achieve it. Write it down, share it, revisit it daily, because clarity doesn't just guide your actions, it multiplies them. The sharper your focus, the faster your results. That is why clarity is power.